In the last 10 years, 736 million women, 1 in 3, have suffered physical or sexual violence worldwide. The statistics are shocking. My story is highly illustrative. My name is Lisbeth Salander, and I am a survivor. I am called a heroine among heroines because I have the strength to stand up for the most vulnerable people. As a child, I reported my father's abuse to social services, but I was not listened to. 2 years later, my father beat my mother so badly that she had to be admitted to hospital with severe neurological consequences. At that moment, I knew I was next. So, in a panic, I threw a milk carton full of petrol in my father's face and lit a match. I watched it go up in flame. What I remember afterwards is that they put me in an asylum and put me in the care of a psychiatrist. That doctor wouldn't listen to me either. What the point of having a voice if nobody wants to listen to you? Everyone speaks their own version. My father said I was crazy, and the psychiatrist beat him up because he received money from my father. It was the word of a defenseless child against that of 2 recognized and accredited adults. Society listened to them. At that moment, I understood that my father was pulling the strings of my life. He tortured and abused me through the unscrupulous doctor. With great zeal, I set out on my own to study psychoanalysis, especially the personality of what I called people who do not love women. I conclude that these people, called misogynists, can be men or women, and they have one thing in common. They are hunters. They choose their prey and go after it. They don't let go until they destroy it completely. My mother had the soul of a victim. I have to confess that I never admired her. In my inner self, I constantly asked myself, why wasn't she braver? Why didn't she denounce my father? Why did she stay with him? I know now that my mother was hooked on my father as much as he was hooked on her. Both had a sick relationship. Both were responsible. In time, I understood that there are no innocents, only degrees of responsibility. But above all, I understood that in violence, what is at stake is a question of power. That's the adrenaline. It is not love that is at stake, but control. In my case, I was my father's prey, and I knew that this could only have 2 endings. Either he would destroy me, or I would destroy him. I was saddened by this certainty, and so the day I learned of his death was one of the happiest days of my life. I thought that the dog was dead and the rabbit was over, but I was wrong. When you have the fate of an abusive father, the death of the father is not the end of the abuse. There are others just as bad or worse, so you have to be very vigilant. When I left the hospital, I was assigned to a guardian. He was a good man. It must be said that there are good men. He loved me very much and wanted me to evolve. My lab was working, I had a job, and I was happy. But he had a stroke and I was assigned to another one. This time I was not so lucky. From the first time I saw him, I knew he was a predator. One of those who want to have a sex slave, the kind that enjoys power and control. I decided to set him up, but I was the one who fell into it. He raped me, insulted me, and hit me so hard that I feared for my life. It was a miracle. He didn't kill me. Nevertheless, I had recorded everything. When I had healed from those wounds, I contacted him and paid him back in kind. I also showed him the recorded video and gave him a tattoo on his repulsive, bulging belly. The tattoo read, "I am sadistic pig and a rapist." As I left that flat, it became clearer to me than ever that sadistic relationships are based on power and control. Before, he was the powerful one. Now, I was. Then I met Miquel. As soon as I saw him, I knew he was a good person. I had researched him and knew that he had also fallen prey to deception. That brought us together beyond words. We were both of the same species. Our bond led us to unmask a killer of women. Miquel introduced me to his sister, Anika, a brave woman like few others. Thanks to her, I managed to get away with the triple murder I was accused of. Throughout my painful and complicated existence, I can say that I have learned many things. I have learned to recognize the predators. They don't fool me anymore. I recognize them even from a distance. I have learned that pain can be a great engine of desire and strength. I have understood that abuse and traition cannot be love. But perhaps one of the most important things I have learned was taught to me by the verb mojo bracatus. This story was told to me by my first guardian, who I have considered a kind of father. It is about a beautiful bird that sang to call someone of its own kind. Days, months, and years went by and it received no answer. Nevertheless, the bird kept on singing, hoping to find someone who could sing the same song as it did. Someone who could hear the chords, the sound signals of its language. But no one answered. All the birds of this species were extinct. He was the last. There was no one like him. He was alone. I remember that as I listened to this sad story of the desolate bird, I could not hold back the tears. But they were the last tears I ever shed in my life. The story gave me the strength of a reflection. that became the desire of my life. To survive, we must find people who listen to our song, even if they are few, even if they are almost extinct. My name is Lisbeth Salander, and I am here to tell you that I belong to a group of people who can listen to you. You must not feel desolation like that bear in the story. If you too fight against violence, against evil, and against betrayal, you have a place in our group. Thank you very much.